Hello and welcome to another episode of Chasing Hope with me, Catherine Abraham. When I was growing up, one of the first things that was taught to me was that if I ever required something, all that I needed to do was to close my eyes and pray about it. If it was aligned with God's wishes for me, I would get the answer immediately. Of course, as time went by, this little teaching took a backseat, and I went along day after day, of course, growing in the faith, but never really consciously asking anything to anyone except my mother or my father. Now, when I was in school, I still remember meeting a friend of mine. She was very anxious that day, worried, and completely disoriented. I just asked her what happened. I hoped she was feeling well because she actually looked sick and pale. She turned around and she said, I don't really know because things are very, very tough at home. And then she went on to tell me about how her own family was actually breaking into pieces, smaller fragments. They were a joint family up until then. Given this background, of course, it was very painful to listen to. And the circumstances that had cropped up in the house was primarily because they had a huge financial loss in their business. And so, as is the case with most families, the brothers turned on each other. And when this was happening, of course, the children were also getting impacted. Finally, it came to a point where one of the brothers decided that he had to do something that was outside of all of these fights. And so they came to a conclusion that they would go ahead and have a puja. Now, in my limited understanding at that point in time, I always thought of pujas as something that happened in terms of a prayer when there was a birthday or an anniversary or something auspicious, because I loved the food that came thereafter. And the very fact that they were planning to work on this puja, she told me about it and I was quite stunned and I asked her about it. So she went on to tell me that it was not only for auspicious occasions, but it was also more like pleasing the gods. And that came to me as a big surprise because I'd never heard of that concept in my faith at all. Of course, I've been taught that whenever you pray to God, He's happy with me. But consciously doing something through someone else, as an intercessor or as a middleman, never really worked for us. And so I was rather curious, but I kept quiet because she was already in a lot of problems. Thereafter, for the next couple of weeks, she started missing school at least once a week. And I believe they had already taken some permissions. When she came back finally, and things seemed to be a little normal with her, I asked her if everything had gone well and if the money, in fact, had actually made its way back home. And she said no, it hadn't. The problems were still there. Money, in fact, had been gone twice over because now they had to pay the Panditji a very, very large amount. And I asked her, I said, but isn't that the reason why he came, so that he could help you? And she said, well, that's his job. But nothing happened. I looked at her and smiled. I realized that that was really not the answer for what we were looking at. A few days later, however, she came to me and we were again talking about various things. And she told me that now the family had decided that they would not have any intercessor or middleman, but they would be praying every single day for the prosperity and the peace in that house. And so every day in the evening, the entire family would come together, keeping all their differences apart, and then pray and ask God for forgiveness. It's interesting to note that the results came in much, much earlier, because now the family was not just laughing and playing together, having their peace of mind, but the finances had also miraculously gotten in place. So, here's the thing, my friends. It's not just any one religion. We're all guilty of this. I still remember a family friend telling me about how they would go to Wellingini Church because they had made a vow there. And if they broke the vow, Mary would be angry with them and things could go awry. And I said, why would she be angry with you? If you believe in her as God, then why would she be angry with you? And they said, no, that's not how God works, and that's not how a vow works. And I was like, wow. Well, at this time, I'd like to also introduce you to another aspect of the faith. Now, my late mother used to spend a lot of time on her knees, praying as soon as she was done with her chores. She was always with her own prayers. And it so happened that sometimes we can't see what's going to happen in the future. But God is so merciful, and He gives you the kind of strength at that point in time that you won't even believe it. Now, my mother would never ever ask my father about his salary or about the money coming in. Never. Now, that particular day, in the course of a conversation, my father, a very kind-hearted person, decided that he was supposed to be parting with his month's salary with a person, an absolute stranger, who had come and cried in front of him that day, much earlier, and told him that my mother's getting operated and I really need the money. Now, my mother really didn't buy the story. And she's not one, as I said before, to ask about the money. This time, however, things were a little different. Much to my father's surprise, she went ahead and told him that he was not giving anything more than a small sum. Helpless, he went off to the bank the next day. The gentleman who was supposed to be coming in also came in, rather happy because he was expecting a rather big amount. But that broad grin was quickly replaced by a crestfallen face the minute he saw the smaller sum that my father had handed out to him. Instead of thanking him, he walked off in a huff. My father didn't make much of it, thinking that maybe the man was in stress, and let it go. A few days later, however, he was intimated about the same person being a well-known fraudster and accused of taking money from a lot of people. Now, I must mention here that up until that minute, my father was terribly angry and upset with my mother for stopping him from helping someone. And now that the whole story was out, he felt rather sheepish. So, sometimes what we think as a trial, what we think as a mistake, is actually God's blessing in disguise. So if something isn't working out today, if something's put on hold, relax, because perhaps God has something greater in store for you. But to accept this reality also requires for you to be confident in your faith. When we communicate with God confidently, we realize that while He is in the silences, He hasn't left our hand. He never will. And He will never throw us to uncertainty. Because uncertainty, doubt, disbelief, and ambiguity can only be the part of the narrative of an unbeliever. For a believer, one who proceeds in faith knows who holds tomorrow. And that is how he moves from day to day with the understanding that his most powerful battles will be fought on his knees. It isn't about what name we address God that matters, but what depth of faith we have. If you feel lost and unwanted, you feel the need for a confession Do it, but only in the presence of God. You want help? Ask for it, but not through an intercessor. You need to approach the one who made you and blessed you directly. That is why we don't need any expensive ceremonies. We don't need rituals. We don't need pundits. We don't need anyone to talk for us. If you take one look, my friends, at the collective amounts spent by various people of belonging to various religions and faith, you will realize that the same amount, if it were just collected, could possibly feed the stomachs of poor children across the world. And in fact, it is their blessing that would perhaps fetch these people far more good than all those lavish ceremonial practices. The increase in godmen and the exploitation of young women and children is rampant in every religion. But we need to ask, who is to be blamed here? The godmen for their trickery, or for us for foolishly falling into their traps despite all the knowledge and education that we have? Do remember, my friends, whoever you are, and at whatever stage of life you are right this minute, you have the power to connect with God directly. You have to believe that He will respond to you, and He will. When we indulge in meaningless rituals, what we are essentially saying is that we believe in man more than God. How can we forget the indulgences of the old, where young Christians from different parts of Europe fell for the religiosity and made sure that they would book a place in paradise for themselves? Is paradise a resort to be booked at our whims and fancies? No. But the innocent and guileless people of the day, those who were not privileged with the power of knowledge, found themselves selling everything for just a small piece of heaven. Who said heaven doesn't have an advance booking? Truth is, just remember, I am close to God's heart, you are close to God's heart, and everyone who believes has a special place for God. And it is God who makes sure that He removes you from a problem, from a situation, from a circumstance, even though you feel that it is your life's trial. Living in India has obviously shown many examples of both the rich and poor indulging themselves into rituals and ceremonies, engaging themselves with people who posit themselves to be gurus and pandits and religious close to God. Today, my simple request to you is, eliminate all these external influences. Accept what God has for you. Accept that God has the best for you in His mind. And make sure that you surrender every day at the very beginning of it to God and let Him take over. You need to believe that He will not just respond to you, but He will work in such miraculous ways that you yourself will be stunned. And today, as you ruminate on whatever I have told you, I leave you with just a question. When was the last time you felt that God had betrayed your trust, only to learn later that all that He had done was only for your betterment? Did you apologize? If you didn't apologize, it's not too late. Get down on your knees today, for even if it's just 2 minutes, and surrender yourself to Him. Apologize for misunderstanding God, and see your life turn for the better. If you've enjoyed this episode of Chasing Hope, please write in to us on Twitter, Facebook. We're also available on email. For those of you who've missed any of the earlier episodes, you can log on to our website, and we will be more than happy to take any prayer requests, any special requests in terms of questions, suggestions, and yes, if you have anything that you want us to cover on this particular podcast, please write in and I will make sure that we incorporate it in one of our later episodes. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have a lovely week ahead.